Din ce în ce mai mulți copii descoperă prea timpuriu tentația drogurilor, fie din cauza că vor să se integreze în colectiv, fie pentru că nu au toate informațiile necesare, fie datorită labilității emoționale specifice vârstei, copiii încep să consume droguri la vârste din ce în ce mai fragede. Distanța dintre consumul ocazional și dependență este uneori prea scurtă pentru ca părinții să poată reacționa în timp util. Împreună cu reputatul psiholog Aletha Solter vom discuta despre cum putem să ne educăm copiii astfel încât să fie protejați de tentațiile narcotice. Good morning, Aletha, again.
Good morning.
Now we talk about raising drug-free kids. What are the basic guidelines for raising children so that they will not want to take drugs when they grow older?
There's really lots of guidelines. In my book, Raising Drug-Free Kids, there are 100 tips for parents. We can summarize them in 5 major points. The first is to kind of pay attention to the parent-child connection. Try to foster a strong connection, a strong attachment, all right? The second is to use a non-punitive approach to discipline. The third is to help children heal from stress and trauma, because that's one of the reasons kids take drugs, when they are stressed, cope with stress. And then we have be a good role model yourself, okay, that's the fourth. And the fifth is really to give children information. Now, there's a lot of books out there that focus only on the last two, being a good role model, giving information. And my book really focuses on preventive parenting. It goes much deeper than just teaching kids about, you know, heroin or cocaine or marijuana, but really parenting in a way that will help children grow up so that they won't want to take drugs.
Let's talk about connection.
Okay.
What does it mean?
Well, connection, it means honoring children's attachment needs. Many studies have shown the root cause of most behavioral problems, including substance abuse, is not a lack of discipline. It's a lack of connection. It's children who feel disconnected from their parents, who don't have good relationship with their parents. That's why it's important to really focus on the parent-child relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
You also mentioned the non-punitive discipline.
Right.
In which way can punishment make a kid, when he grows older, want to use drugs?
Well, the main disadvantage there, the main effect of punishment on children in the context of drugs is that children rebel. They will rebel against their parents, and we've talked about that. And taking drugs is a way to rebel because they know the parents don't want them to, and so that's all part of the adolescent rebellion. And when we raise children without punishment, they don't feel the need to rebel and do something that's forbidden against the law, you know. Studies have shown that children are more likely to take drugs as teenagers when their parents use strict authoritarian methods of discipline. And another study showed that like at age 5, parents who used explanations instead of punishment, when their children were age 5, those children, they did a longitudinal study and followed them all the way through, those children were less likely to take drugs. So there's research that backs all this up.
All right.
Yeah.
What about accepting your child's emotions? Can this help?
Yes, that's very important. Accepting emotions is how we help children heal from stress and trauma. So we allow children to express their fears, to express their anger, to cry when they need to. They won't, hopefully, won't need to numb their painful emotions with drugs. Kids take drugs to feel better. That's one of the reasons. They want to feel better. They're feeling stressed. They're feeling depressed. They're feeling, you know, problems with school, problems with their friends, problems with their parents. And they turn to drugs as a way of feeling better. Then of course, there's a risk of addiction. But if we can raise them so they don't have this backlog of emotional, I call it emotional baggage. Okay, so stress from childhood if they don't bring that with them into adolescence, they won't have as great a need to just look for a quick way to feel better. They simply won't need that.
Please, let's talk about age-appropriate information. How can we establish what is appropriate for what age?
We can start as early as age 3, and we can start explaining to children the difference between 3 things: poison, medicine, and food. Okay? It's a good way to start teaching children about drugs. So, because some people think some medicine looks like candy, it's good to make that distinction, okay? And then as they get older, we can actually give information about drugs. By the time a child is, 12 years old, they should know what all the major drugs are: cocaine, heroin, hashish, whatever. They should know about that. They should have the information, what it looks like, what it does, and why it's dangerous, okay? And then during the teenage years, a good way to give information, to keep giving information, is to give, I call it making use of teachable moments.
Okay.
You don't sit down and have a talk with you, Hopefully you've given them the basic information, you've raised them so they won't need drugs, but you can still have teachable moments with teenagers. You can say, for example, if there's been an accident, an automobile accident by someone driving under the influence of alcohol, maybe that person someone was killed, maybe it was very serious and it's in the news. You can talk with your teenager, that really saddened me, when I read about that. How did it make you feel? Just kind of open up the dialogue about that. So those are what I call teachable moments, making use of what's in the news. Yeah.
About being a good role model, does this mean only not to use drugs as a parent?
It's being a good role model. I kind of enlarge that whole category to starting at conception, not using drugs, not using during pregnancy, not using drugs during pregnancy. That can predispose a child to wanting drugs later on. Not giving drugs to children, not letting them have sips of alcohol. That's not cute, it's dangerous, okay? Certainly not taking drugs ourselves. If we find that we're always reaching for the glass of wine or the glass of beer or the cigarette when we're stressed, when we're depressed, when we're lonely, if those are our stress coping mechanisms, our children are going to see that. Nothing wrong with drinking beer, nothing wrong with drinking wine occasionally, but if that becomes your way of dealing with stress, you might want to take a look at what you're doing, what message your children are getting. So it's very important to act in ways that we want our children to act, and they imitate. They imitate. We are our children's role models, so they will imitate everything we do.
That's a lot of responsibility.
It's a huge responsibility, but it is possible. It's very possible to raise children so they won't take drugs. It's not an inevitable part of adolescence or young adulthood. It doesn't have to happen. But it does take a lot of work, and it starts at conception.
Okay.
It starts at conception. It doesn't start at age 12. I've had people tell me, I say, well, have you read my book, Raising Drug-Free Kids? And they'll say, oh, well, no, my kid's only 6 years old. We're not there yet. I said, yes, you are. You're there. You can do things now already that are preventive parenting, that will prevent your children from even wanting to take drugs later on.
Okay, Aletha, thank you very much. Your answers have been so helpful for us.
You're welcome.
Hope to see you again.
Yes, I hope to come back to Romania someday.